Let's break the mold, start believing, and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Wild on 7, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
Welcome back. This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast, presented by Pilot Games. Hey, listen, the Wild are still on a roll right now. I think 15-1-4 in their last 19 games. Everybody saw that coming, especially when the star Kirill goes down, that somehow the Wild would find their offense, go on a deep run. But a lot of that, I think, comes down to belief and inner belief. And, you know, that's something we've been preaching at the podcast is we're here till it's here. Be a good fan. John, we should say everybody should visit the Hockey Lodge too. We got a merch drop here. And a couple of T-shirts, nice Heather Gray. John's wearing it right now for those of you listening.
It doesn't come with the man boobs. I put those in. So if you want a regular one, they have the regular ones.
T-shirts on sale. They're flying off the shelves at the Hockey Lodge. But yeah, I think they're available online. So if you want to get those, for sure, good spot to do it there. But the Wild without Kaprizov have continued to play good hockey. Matt Boldy, the runway's been cleared for this young man, and he has taken off. He didn't pass up an opportunity here. He's been great. What do you think about the man on Easy Street?
It's honestly, it's like a Commodore song or Lionel Richie should be playing every time the guy skates. Did you notice yesterday, every time he scored, it sounded like a money coming out of like a slot machine or a cash register, because it was like chink, chink. If you were just
yeah,
in
the audio in the net.
Yeah, if you were in the other room, like looking for your wallet or something, all you would hear was chink, and then you would go in and Boldy had scored again. It was just money dropping into a plastic cup at a small casino with your grandma, and he's so happy. His cellies have turned into these like one-legged Jack Eichel, I don't know what to do with myself. He does interviews with his helmet on after the game. He's the boy that all the moms want to have.
He's in sync.
Yeah, he's a boy band. He's in sync. You're right. He's 20, and he's
actually in sync right now.
Actually in sync. Yeah, you would go see him at the mall and scream. And he's a pretty simple kid. I mean, I think he likes to play hockey and he likes to golf. And he probably likes to eat Italian in the North End. I mean, it's like you're not, you know, he's Matt Boldy, but man, is he on Easy Street. You get paid that kind of money. Can you imagine if the Wild paid us a ton of money to do this podcast? How good this podcast would be.
That'd be a fun beta test, wouldn't it? Hey, fill the bank account up and we'll see how good this podcast can be. Let's clear the runway for us to be great.
I want to
make it happen. Can you imagine though? Just hold up, just for a second. Imagine that financially, as long as you're not some type of meathead, that you no longer have a problem.
You're done with the money thing.
You no longer have a problem. Would that free you up? I don't even know that you would understand what that means at his age, like 21 years old. Like I don't even know if you would know. Like it's not like he had a bunch of college debt or anything like that. But can you just? Yeah, you're right.
I can't even imagine what that would. Then I think at that point, you like become Phil Jackson like you're just reading a book about a monk. You might go help sandbag in Stillwater because you saw it on the news. You become like this, just I don't know,
free bird.
Whatever I bump into is what I'm going to do, and that's what he looks like
right now.
He looks like that first scene in the bowling movie with Mumford when he walks into the bowling alley and the guy's got the slice of pizza and he takes the pizza off.
Are you talking about the Big Lebowski?
No, it's Kingpin. But he is like, it's like he doesn't, even on the bench, like I was looking at, someone was kind of standing by him doing the cover your mouth. Middleton. I couldn't imagine what Middleton was saying to him after he scored like his third goal or whatever. He was just doing kind of I don't need the TVs to see what I'm telling you right now. But I think there's a lot of like, hey kid, tiger by the tail, right?
Well, that's kind of funny too, because Middleton should know by now that his mustache hides all things. Like you can't read lips of a dude with a sweater like that, missing teeth. Like no chance you can decipher what he's trying to say. So that's kind of wasted energy from Middleton. But Boldy, you're absolutely right about the audio too. I was watching at home, and the audio of it sounded like it hit the bottom of the net.
Chink chink.
Yeah, bottom near the pad. It was like chink tunk, like or but I watched the replay and he put it in a perfect spot. I'm talking his second goal, the one that was like right over the shoulder.
Did they have a goaltending problem? I mean, I was just looking at total shots and how many. I was kind of watching it. I'm a different fan with Kirill out. We're going to come back to that, but I was kind of half watching it, and then Hartman just rung the bell too with a crazy shot. Were we just sniping, or was that goalie? I know he got pulled, but what was going on goaltending wise?
I think goaltending in Seattle has been an issue all year. So Grubauer was signed as a free agent, and he didn't have a great year last year. So they went out and got like a 1B or somebody that they thought a veteran guy that could back up. And that was Martin Jones. And Martin Jones kind of stole the net for the first half of the year. And if you look at the records, it's crazy because Jones at the halfway point of the year was like leading the league in wins, or he's second behind Allmark. And then all of a sudden he couldn't stop anything. So now they can't even play him. Seattle had games last week where I think Grubauer was out with illness and they didn't play Jones. He's like 24, 9, and 3 on the year, and they couldn't play him. They won't play him. They called up a guy from the American League to play. And then Grubauer comes back, his net again. And whether he's not fully over the illness or back up to form or whatever, I don't know how many of them were on him last game, but I think that's a somewhat of a trap I'm falling into as a sports fan right now too. Because if we're calling a spade, the Wild are 15-1-4 in their last 19 or whatever it is, and I would say over the last 4 games have not played great hockey. The Philly game wasn't pretty. Chicago wasn't like they blew the doors off of a team that's playing for Bedard. The Seattle game at times, if not for most of it, they were outplayed. But at the same time, they're collecting points. So I kind of feel like, all right, we're waiting for the bottom to fall out of this run that the Wild are on, but they keep finding ways to win. And it's different people stepping up. Like, I don't think the Wild win that game if Fleury doesn't stand on his head and play a terrific game against Seattle. But it's been a pretty crazy run. I think the Wild, there's room for improvement in the game still, but that's the luxury of having a good team is you can find ways to win games even when you're not playing good, and then that negative pressure doesn't mount.
Yeah, and I think, the fan base was... I've heard this so many times. You must have heard this a ton yourself. Everybody, this is good for the Wild.
Yeah.
Kirill being out, this is good for the Wild. And it's been okay. We've gotten through this time period. The games haven't been totally pretty, but a lot of people are stepping up and they're having a lot of success. I believe if it can happen, if Kirill can get back, I think that's when it really gets good, because now you're putting the pieces back together. Because if you look, right, we've had great goaltending. Our power play has been trending downward. We're still kind of having a 5-on-5 problem, right? So if you can bring Kirill back, tighten up the structure, all these guys have a ton of confidence now because they've got a chance being the lead singer, and the power play is going to be better with him back. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in the next time we put the pieces back together and what that might look like as we head towards the playoffs.
Well, what the Wild haven't had and they've been looking for is a second line, somebody that can be a complement to Kaprizov and Zuccarello. And they have that all of a sudden in Boldy, Johansson, and Eriksson Ek. And I think you're absolutely right. But then there comes the question, and how much of Boldy's success has come because the runway was cleared for him. So he's had these OT goals and confidence has been, on the rise. Would he be getting that ice in OT? Would he be getting the ice on the power play? Is everything running through him on the power play, or is it running through Kirill? Who gets most of the touches? Where does it go? And right now, Boldy has stepped up to be the man, and he's delivering, but the next challenge for him will be maintaining this level of play and confidence while being a support piece for Kirill Kaprizov.
Well, the cat's out of the bag now, right? You can't put it. We know what he's capable of. We know what he looks like when he's got that $49 million cologne, on his wrist and on his neck, right? So I think it'll be interesting how it goes back together, because now, now you got to figure that out. And I think really it's been two things, right? He's been shooting more, and he's been playing at higher speed because Johansson makes him go. And that's always been, it is interesting how often Dean is correct about things. He'll be saying, Boldy's just got to keep moving and moving his feet and playing fast and he'll be okay. And when I would hear that back in the day, it sounded like a
coach speak,
a hockey parent saying, move your feet, yelling. It didn't sound like anything very specific to Matt Boldy, but man, is he right. If you just got the fast forward button on the remote with JoJo, guess what? Boldy's he can't even stop scoring goals.
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a second, really break it down. So he's shooting the puck a lot more because all of a sudden Johansson, a player, and Johansson's playing with great confidence too. Yeah. The fact, look around the league and the guys that were picked up at the deadline, there hasn't been a more seamless transition into the new lineup, new locker room than Johansson has had here. And the Wild are massively benefiting from it. And Bill Guerin looks like an absolute genius at the deadline. The pickups that he makes are, they've been terrific and paid dividends right off the bat.
Don't play cards with Bill Guerin.
Right?
The old maid all of a sudden will have an IPO the week after, and there's old maid restaurants in 50 states, and he'll take you to the cleaners, man.
So I want to get to at some point how Avison deserves the Jack Adams, and it's for reasons like Johansson coming into the locker room and being a player, being set in that spot. They targeted a guy, they knew him skill set, what it would be, and then I think pressing the right buttons with Johansson, saying you have to move your feet to be in the spot, if
even the line combinations.
Yeah,
he's a wizard, and with Johansson, the Hockey News came to my house yesterday, and I was looking at it, and they were looking at the playoffs. The thing you underestimate, they had all our guys and how they've done in the playoffs historically. The guys played in like over 100 playoff games, because he was on Washington forever. Yeah. You're adding that to the locker room now, right? You've got this guy that can say, hey, Boldy, you can take your helmet off for post-game interviews and let's just relax. We're in the second round or whatever. I love that we've added that element. And you know what? I don't even remember this guy being on the Wild a couple years ago.
No.
Well, I have no recollection. I know he was on the team and I know his name. There's nothing. It's a blank tape.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how he played.
Well, he was hurt.
Hurt the whole time?
He was hurt, and then, a lot of times it comes down to situation, opportunity, and motivating factors. And I think when you look at Johansson, all of those have hit with him.
He's got
contract year. And look at Zuccarello and what Kaprizov did for Zuccarello. You have a young guy that is talented, that a team is invested in, and if you can find a way to complement that player, that might be the key to your next deal, to your future success. And I think Johansson has recognized, like, how do I continue to make Boldy better? If it simply means me moving my feet, yes, I will work. Give me that bike. I'm going to be in great shape, whatever it is. But look at Boldy's goals over this stretch. He had 0 in February. They make the deal. Johansson comes to town. They find a little chemistry. He's got, I think, 13 now in the month of March, and nearly half of them, the primary assist is Johansson.
Yep.
And a lot of the others, until last game, I think Eriksson had the primary assist on 2 in the hat-trick game against Seattle. But Johansson had a primary there too. Other than that, they were unassisted goals where Boldy was on these breakaways. And let's go off on a tangent here. How was Boldy all of a sudden getting multiple breakaways every single game?
And by the way, the last one when he scored, that's the slowest breakaway that's ever happened. It's like guys were on TV and they I think it was at the rink we were watching, and people were like, who is that? Is this old footage from a 2000 Wild game? Like it was so great because I think he was supposed to go off, and then he just had one last. He was just a sled dog.
That was the Jersey game, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The legs were straight.
You're right. Boldy and OT. Yep.
He was bent at the back.
Yeah, it was like Greenway.
But nobody's catching him.
Greenway had worked with him for like 3 weeks or something.
But nobody's catching him. So I know he's got a knack right now for finding breakaways and getting open in that spot too. Johansson's been terrific. But Dean Evison, back to this.
Jack Adams. Is this how you're trying to get all the money from the Wild? Like, so we get we kind of pump him up and then we get the 49 mil?
Yeah, exactly.
I like this. I'm with you. I think he should also get the Jack Adams.
But he's not going to. The Jack Adams is going to go to Boston's head coach, and because Boston's had a terrific year. But look at the things that Evison has worked this team through. He came into the year wanting the power play to be better, the special teams to be better. Both have improved greatly. He wanted to find and come up with a second scoring line. He's done that. And no small thing is putting Eriksson Ek on that line.
Yeah.
Ek doesn't get a lot of credit right now. It's Johansson and Boldy, and oh my gosh, that's like what a great duo that is. But they're nowhere near as good without Eriksson Ek and the way that he's played. And Dean knows that Eriksson Ek, you've got Zuccarello, Kaprizov, and Hartman. And Zuccarello and Kaprizov are the guys offensively, and Hartman's a complement piece, right? He also knew that Eriksson Ek is a goal scorer. He's like a finisher and finds a way to score goals. So he didn't want to load up that one line with all the goals. So he has to spread that out, knowing that one of his goal scorers is Eriksson Ek. So he puts him with those guys. But the things that Eriksson Ek does away from the puck has really helped Johansson and Boldy score goals too. So all of a sudden now he's created through lines and opportunity for these guys 2 great scoring lines. And now all of a sudden the third and fourth line have pitched in too. I think motivating. You look at those guys and the motivation for them. But I think we saw it in the Seattle game. Both Shaw, Dewar getting in fights. Like they see Gus Nyquist skating every day.
Yeah.
And you can see like not panic, but urgency from those guys, recognizing, man, that guy's going to go up into the lineup and somebody gets bumped down and there is no place down. We're out. So all of a sudden these guys are playing
they're on the bus, like giving themselves wild tattoos, with like burning their own arms. Like, we're in it together. Yeah. And this group.
And Evison has created a lot of that stuff. D pairs. On how many teams in the NHL is Jake Middleton a top pair D man?
Well, all of them, because he's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, and what an unlikely combination and I think that's going to help in the playoffs. The knock. We haven't been hearing these whispers of undersized defensemen, which always comes around playoff time. But putting Jake with Spurgey, that's a little different animal.
Yeah, and managing the goaltenders. So he's got 2. He says it's not a rotation. I actually believe him when he says it's not a rotation because I try to figure out what he's going to do, and all of a sudden
you're 0%. Right?
Yeah, it's like you strike out every single time. And I go back to the start of the year where I was doing for Bally in an exhibition game. Bill Guerin came into the booth and I asked him, how are you feeling about your goaltending situation? And Bill Guerin turns right to me and says, how do you feel about it? Like almost upset that I was asking, it was a talker early on in the year. Like
trying to start something.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? These are our goaltenders. And there was question marks on, Fleury, Gustafsson, the trade. Dean Evison and management and staff and style of play have turned what looked like a potential weakness coming into the season into maybe their greatest strength. And how they don't get credit for this or how it's untalked about is kind of amazing to me.
Because I remember that when we traded Talbot, because it was almost like Billy was like, we're going to keep Talbot. It's fine. And then like there was a couple more headaches and a little more drama. And he was like, you know what? Tear off the Band-Aid. Let's get rid of him. No drama. And I remember that same time when you were interviewing him, it was a little bit like, okay, so we're choosing like this idea of culture and the room and no nonsense. And we've just traded away a goalie that can probably help us, Talbot. And I remember thinking, man, we might have just made our team worse because we didn't want to hear some guy's wife on social media. But man, it's been the opposite. Gus has just been outstanding. It's like we found a diamond in the rough. And I think I was looking at when Murray was with Flower, there's a lot of parallels. He seems to be very well motivated, when there's one of his best cup runs of all time was when Murray was sharing the net with him, and he was just, he's just a gamer. He's competitive. So if Gus is throwing down what he's throwing down, the Flower is going to do the same.
Well, and that's exactly what I think we're seeing is the value of internal competition
all across the board.
Across the board, and it's at every position. So you've got goaltenders, you've got D. And what Dean isn't is blinded by some type of hope. It's a results, what have you done for me lately kind of a business. Kalen Addison, great on the top power play unit, leading all rookies in power play assists, and you name it. I don't care. Scratch him. John Klingberg's hurt. I don't care. I'll scratch Kalen Addison. John Merrill's not playing the way that I want him to. He scratches him, and a lot of coaches will keep guys in and play them, let them play through that stuff. But Dean has an ability to be able to communicate with those guys, be honest with them, to where they're not disliking their coach, to not swimming against the current and being cancerous in a room, and then being forced to just have to elevate their game and play better. Otherwise, they don't get to play.
Yeah. The Addison one was the only one. I really felt like we had the power play kind of figured out. We were a good power play, top 10 power play. And I know that he had some trouble on the defensive side of things, but I was just thinking, isn't there a way? There was a guy, Robbie Stucker, that used to play for the Gophers, and it was like he literally just went out for power play sometimes. But isn't there a way in the NHL game to kind of have a power play specialist, or do you really believe Goose is kind of the same as Addison? Klingberg maybe is even a level up, even though it's a little bit different. Am I overvaluing that Addison was a pretty significant part to fixing the power play this year?
Yeah, he was. And I think that...
I think he's the right style, especially when Kirill's there.
Yep.
That's the best guy to have running the power play.
I think that there's an understanding that Addison is the best guy for the power play right now, and they are using other guys to see how they fit in there, and that is Klingberg, that's Spurgeon.
And giving him a teachable moment in the process, right?
Where he's finding out what they have.
Learn how to play D, you're a defenseman.
We all know that offense becomes harder to find in the playoffs, and the special teams, especially in the first round, become so much more important. So yes, you want it firing on all cylinders when the playoffs hit. So I think probably four-ish games left in the season. If Addison's the guy, he's going to be in the lineup. And
I believe he is the guy, because now that's with Kirill. And I don't know we should talk about Kirill next, but I don't know what his status is. But when you have him, the thing that's nice about Addison is he kind of, he runs it, but he doesn't really run it,
right?
And I think that it's an amoeba. When they're at their best, it's diagonal lines and Zuki, and they're all just, it's like this crazy orbiting thing. It's not classic. It's not umbrella. And he certainly fits in that mold if that's what we're going to do.
Right. And I think what you're trying to say is that when Addison runs the power play, he knows the right time and the right person to move it to.
100%.
He's not trying to be the quarterback and have, all rights to audible, check down, make plays, and then, throw the right pass down the field, so to speak. He just wants to get it to the guys most efficiently that the Wild want to be the quarterback, and that's Zuccarello, Kaprizov, however it might be.
Game manager.
Walking the line. Yeah. And you're right. The power play has been best in that regard. So what does that tell the staff? That, Kaprizov and Zuccarello are where the power play should be running through. Play should be going through these guys, their tape. And Klingberg, I think, changes that a little bit. He wants to be the quarterback, so he's walking the line. He's shooting a little bit more. He's setting himself up for a one-timer. He's moving and making plays like this, and it's not all bad. They're just trying to figure out if that is what is their best option.
They're auditioning. They
the
already have
best
a
option
guy
for our first power play, our second power play. Because all of a sudden, if it looks like maybe you want both those guys in there because you have Addison to run your first power play, they go 60 seconds, then you have Klingberg on your second one.
Outstanding.
Where you're like, yes, be a rover, hard to cover, a slightly different and not as good version of Erik Karlsson where you are the focal point. Yeah. But now all of a sudden you have to have those two righties playing 5-on-5, and that's what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about 97 for a little bit.
You need a tissue? You need a box of tissues?
Yeah, so I'm talking out to we got a good group of people that listen to our podcast and watch it. I'm wondering if I'm alone. I really miss Kirill. And I know we're like doing great.
Let me interrupt you here. You're not alone. If you're not getting good quality sleep right now, because 97 is out, it might not only be because of Kirill Kaprizov. And if you're one of the 30 million people that have sleep apnea and the 25 that leave it untreated, John, what should you do?
I would put my sleep apnea to bed. I would go to mygemsleep.com/wild, because if you are restless, if your health has suffered, if you snore, if your partner snores, do not be one of these 25 million walking zombies walking around. Call these guys, go on the internet. They will take care of it. They'll make it easy for you, make it turnkey. That's MyGemSleep. Put your sleep apnea to bed. I wish I wrote that. Am I meant to pass it back to you now?
mygemsleep.com/wild.
Boom. What did I say?
I think that's right.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
You nailed it, man. Hey, good job. You could pass it back, or I can set myself up. You know what's been keeping me up?
What?
All the snow in the yard.
Oh, because you're worried about ice dams?
Well, I'm not worried about ice dams. I don't have ice dams at my house, but I tell you what, all the snow has been melting around the house now. And I took a lap around, lots of vole damage. That's another story. It drives me bananas. But I see a lot of like little roof shingle stuff on the deck, on the concrete.
Oh, broken stuff.
Yeah, on the roof. And it was a record snowfall for the year. And we didn't have ice dams, but I drive around, I see ice dams all over the place. And I'm concerned because there was hailstorms in my region last year. You know, is there damage? It does show up 12, 18 months later. It's something that I want to get checked out. We're getting into roofing season now. May 1st, it's officially fully go. So if you're having any of these other concerns like I am, you should check out wildconstructionmn.com. They've got a great retail estimate tool for you and your roof. You can just log on. You can check to see if you were within a region that had storms, when the storm was. Give these guys a call. They'll schedule a free estimate. They'll come out, take care of you, make sure that they get a thorough look on your roof if you've had any problems or any issues. And then they want to be a resource for you too, somebody that you can communicate with, help you through the process. wildconstructionmn.com. They will make it happen.
I thought we maybe had an insurance company sponsoring us for a minute there with the busted rooftop, but you brought it all the way back. Thank you.
97's keeping you up at night.
So, actually, you know what he's doing? I find myself sort of dozing off during these games because I just miss having him on the ice. It's like, I know that Matt Boldy is, you know, Sammy Hagar and Van Halen, but I miss David Lee Roth. Like I don't know what it is. I haven't sent the Russia flag emoji to anyone in quite some time. You know, every time we come into the podcast, people may not know this. We walk right by the Tria rink, and this morning I heard just one set of skates out there, and I thought, I'm going to come around the corner and he's going to be on the ice, and I'm going to maybe even like, you know, do a muscle flex and point at him, you know, like he's coming back, because the timeline was 3 to 4 weeks. This Wednesday will be 3 weeks on the button. I think everybody believed, because Kirill's Kirill, that he was going to come back like in 2.5 weeks, like some Ray Lewis deer antler stuff. Right. But we haven't seen him on the ice. I haven't anyway. So, are we gonna see him for 2-3 games before the end of the season? What do you think's gonna happen with Mr. Kirill? And are you coping without him? Do you? I just it's not the same for me anymore. It's like seeing a band, and like there's all these great people in the band, but like Freddie Mercury isn't there. Like it just like Steve Perry. It's not wild hockey without Kirill for me
right now.
Yeah, I love the team and I'm glad they're winning. But like, it's a dimmer switch, man. I need Kirill back. I miss him so much.
What I think is, and I don't know this, but over time, I think in the Bill Guerin era, what I've observed is that they're patient with injuries, especially when they can be, and they've played themselves into a situation where they're not going to fall to a wild card spot. It doesn't look like. So they're going to be in the top 3. They'd love to have, home ice, and they're going to play for that. They're not just laying down and doing nothing. But at the same time, they understand that what it's about is not winning a couple more games right now. They want to win the games that matter down the stretch. So whether Kirill's 98% and he's knocking on the trainer's door saying, I'm ready to go, let me play, they're not going to let him play until they know for sure he's 100%. And I think that's where it's at. So whether the timeline was 3 to 4 weeks, he maybe feasibly could have been able to play if this was game 1 tomorrow. But I think that they're going to make sure that he's ready to go when it matters most, and that's game 1. But I do think that in my experience coming back from injury, it's hard to jump right back in, especially at playoff level, and then
so you would think they'll get him a game or 2 before.
There's be a couple, but I don't think there's any urgency right now to say, okay, let's get him into the Colorado game to see where we measure up. I don't think that's the case.
I got one. This is just one more humorous thing related to this. So, I wrote down all the goal scorers in the last week and who had the assists, and Zuccarello's name's on here a couple times. But he clearly, since the baby Russian went away, it's had a detriment on our friend Zuki, right? He's got a couple assists here, but I just picture him right now, like he probably went from like telling Kirill to go to the Bahamas to like now he's down there like, hey, you good, man? Like let's get because this Boldy and
put some sunscreen on. Don't get burned. You come back. You got to play.
Boldy and Johansson are doing this Batman and Robin thing, but he's like, this is our deal, man. Like let's here's a chair. You can push the chair on the ice. I'll come with you. I think he's probably bought him a return ticket from the Bahamas.
Poor Zuki.
Yeah, I mean he's scoring. He's just
he got the podcast bump.
Yeah, he did. He got a couple right away. I guess he had he assisted on one late with Hartman yesterday. He's got a couple other ones. Hey, the Hartman goal. Did you do the Chicago game? Mm-hmm. Was that not one of the most like boring Wild games in the history of time until we won it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, oh my God. And then Hartman, Mr. Chicago, that goal at the end, it was like a beer league goal. Right, even how he had Stalock lay down and the fist pump. I mean, I felt like I was in my garage. Like this is like a beer league goal from a beer league guy playing in the NHL.
It's such a Hartman goal too
in Chicago too. Like that he's amped for that game.
Somehow, like he gets behind Murphy, and Murphy has no clue he's there. It's like, how did Murphy not know he's there?
And then he just sits there.
Yeah, hits him, trips a little bit, then goes in on a breakaway.
He's like, Al, go ahead, lay down.
And they're buddies. They've played together, and I think they trained together for a bit in the summers too. But I talked to Al after, and it was funny because he was thinking that Hartman was going to go upstairs. So that's why, if you can recall the goal, Hartman goes to his forehand.
Yeah.
And he's waits
him out.
Yeah. And Stalock thought he was going to try to flip it upstairs. So he lifted his left leg as he's laying down to try to get it. But Hartman slides it near the ice, but it ends up going under Stalock's pad. And Stalock, he's from here. Lots of people in the stands. He races upstairs. And then his son, first question, Dad, do you think if you'd have left your leg on the ice that you'd have stopped that one? That's just getting chirped.
Is that what he
instantly
said? Oh my God.
8-year-old.
Well, it's funny because I like to do the sports gambling a little bit, and I like when there's this extra element, like, oh, they're playing Chicago. Hartsy's definitely like he's circling this one. You can tell when there's games, even like, oh, Kirill's playing Ovechkin. Okay, he's or prime time or whatever the case may be. You even said when McDavid had the big game the night before on prime time, and Kirill kind of matched it. I think it is fun when you can see a player kind of actively wanting a regular season game more.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? We should probably segue, bring the guest in. Eventually, we're going to get to Boldy's new weapon and Ryan Reeves' smelling salts, knives to the brain, and how that went for him.
I want to try that, by the way.
Before we do that, we've got to bring in Andrew Heydt, Team Services. He does all the stuff behind the scene for the Wild in terms of travel and really making sure that the players are able to do what they need to do, play hockey. So he takes care of, we'll get into it.
He's got all the stories.
Yeah, he's got all the stories.
This will be good. This interview, like all interviews on Wild on 7th, are sponsored by Duke Cannon. If your hair is a weapon or your wish it was, pick up some Duke Cannon. Serious flow, lightweight mane tamer.
So I'm playing with the Wild. This is 2014 and maybe 15. And one of the first trips we get a flight into Calgary late at night, and there's fire trucks when we show up. So we get there, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, fire trucks. And
because of the flames?
This is at the West one. Yeah, or the West in Calgary. And I don't know how many hotel rooms you need, 50 or 60 something, I would assume, for the new wave of the NHL where each player gets their own hotel room. And we're not getting into the hotel because there was a fire in there and they've got to clear the hotel. So first week on the job, you'll have to tell us the story, but first week on the job, Andrew Heydt all of a sudden decides to pivot and rebooks hotels, and we just drive a half a block down the road to another hotel, check in, saves the day, and we're able to get to bed, get enough sleep to win a hockey game. Andrew Heydt, that's how he was introduced to the NHL. You came from where? Baseball?
Yeah. So thanks first, guys, for having me on. I think we might have to have a timeout or a second session because this thing could go for hours.
Okay. Hey, man,
I think I'm on volume number 5 of my book collection. But the transcript is on the chest. So when I die, that my kids can run with it.
There you go.
That's good.
Because otherwise I'd lose my job. I'd lose
it's written in Latin,
everything.
Though.
Yeah, Latin. I'm the director of operations, and I just added alumni relations to the title as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, Karts, you said it right. It was the first. Actually, that was about week 3 of my job. But week 1, day 1 of my job was when Josi blew up on the team.
Yeah, snapped.
Snapped.
That was
day 1. That was day 1 of my job, and I sunk back and I went into my office and I'm like, I think I'm going to wait till day 2 to say hi to my boss. And Josi and I joke about it now, but that was day 1. Day 2 of my job, unfortunately, that was the day that Zach Parise's father passed away. And that, in my role, the guys lean on me, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a mixed bag of what you deal with. So
that
was
kind of like the concierge.
Yeah, full concierge, full there to just help anything that they need. So that was day 2. So that was tough because I didn't have that relationship with him yet to console him, but I needed to. So that was tough. Day 3 we lost, or day 2, day 3 we lost again. We were in a little bit of a spiral. Josi called me into his office. He goes, "Hey, we're gonna stay an extra night in Chicago. Guys need to just unwind a little bit, get back to their roots, be a team again." So I said, yeah, that's fine. To any normal ear, that's perfectly normal.
Right.
But for a team ops guy, day 3 on the job, I went back to my office and I sat down. I'm like, what the hell do I do? Yeah. I didn't know. It's a spiral, like change the buses, change the flight, change the hotel, change the equipment stuff. So we figured that out. Day 4, we got into Chicago. We lost again. We went out, but one of the boys got in trouble. I had to deal with that, again, without a relationship. We figured that out. Day 5, we get into Pittsburgh. We lose again. Players only meeting. I'm stuck in it. I see the tension building. We get into Buffalo next. Huge snowstorm again. My fault, right? I'm in charge. I'm in charge of the weather, the traffic,
well, especially in Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
Smart.
Traffic, weather. If the ranch is too runny, that's a big issue with me too. But so we get into Buffalo into a snowstorm, and we get there. Okay, it's delayed. We're still in this rut. And Chuck Fletcher, our GM at the time, calls me and he goes, "Hey, we just traded for a goalie. It's Devin Dubnyk. He's in Phoenix. We're in Buffalo. We need to get him here the next day to play." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." Day 5 coming from PR. I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll figure it out." So I hang up the phone and I'm like, all right, I'm going to call Devin Dubnyk. I'm going to welcome him to Minnesota. I'm going to see if we can get him here. I convinced our 6'6" goalie to get on a JetBlue red-eye flight, middle seat, no first class.
Yeah, we've seen him. That's not going to be good.
He went through Newark. He went through Newark and he landed into Buffalo at 6 a.m. and he won the game. So, as we became friends over the years, Doobie still jokes with me. He goes, dude, how the hell did you convince me to do that? I'm like, I don't know.
You were in Arizona.
You were in Arizona, right?
And he went on about 30 games in a row.
I think he went on like a 7 or 8 game win streak right there too. So that was my first week. And then fast forward to what Karts had mentioned. We went in from Edmonton. We won in Edmonton. We landed in Calgary. I text my hotel contact, hey, we'll be 20 minutes out. He goes, great, but the hotel's on fire. So we got there, 2 NHL buses, 1:30 in the morning, middle of January, and I ran in my suit around the block to get a directory, and we found it, and we got into a new hotel in about 45 minutes. So the stories are endless. Again, we could talk for hours about things that are out of my control.
Just as an establishing thing for the listener. So is it fair to say your job is to make it easy to just be a hockey player?
100%. I think, and
you handle all the other stuff.
All my coworkers laugh at me, and Karts probably does too. And it's like my tagline is I take the noise outside of it, right? Like you avoid, you let them focus on hockey, and you take the outside noise away from them, and try and make it as easy as possible for them to get on the ice.
That's great. And then, so if you're at your kid's third grade class, you're a special guest. How would you say what you do to them? Like they're like the fireman was there. You're Nordy's friend.
I'm Nordy's friend.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer on the spot.
Well, when you're good at your job, you end up having to deal with the real issues behind the scenes in the NHL, like ranch that's too runny. What else?
What are the hockey things?
We have the Friday of Thanksgiving, 2 years ago when we got stuck, and I had to call Billy G and say, Billy, you have to call Bill Daly. We have to push the game back because we're not even out of the tunnel yet.
Oh, in New York.
We're the game's starting in a half hour. Can we? What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
No, it's one of those where it's so much is out of this position's control that you just got to roll with it and try and make the best of it.
What are the classic hockey guy things? So whether it's like, TSN doesn't work at while they're doing the bike, or like it's a food thing, those little waffle things that they eat. Like what are like the classic, like hockey guys complain about this 10 times more than they even should?
Well, you know what? Every hockey guy will say they're not superstitious. It's a routine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not superstitious, but it's my routine. Okay. I'll make your routine happen. Ryan Reeves right now, every hotel we go into, he's got a bowl of yogurt, a side of honey, and some almond shivers.
If that's what he has to have in the room?
Yeah.
No.
Does
everybody know this?
No. This is the first time. This is the first time it's dropping right now.
Okay,
so,
good.
But like it's a little thing like that, right?
Yeah, I'm eating that next time.
And then if you don't have that delivered there,
they'll text me like, "Hey, where's my yogurt?"
Yeah, take a picture of a blank desk. There's nothing there.
When I get on the plane and whenever this airs, I'm gonna get hit.
Do you think he's just doing that to mess with you?
This would be a good test if he listens to the podcast.
Well, good point.
We'll use it as a social clip to make sure it's out there.
That's like a tour rider. That's like the yellow M&M stuff, man.
And we'll get into the event that we're getting, that we're promoting here and it coming up. But like, athletes want to be musicians and musicians want to be athletes, and it co-lives in this world. And talking to all my music buddies, it's totally it. I tell them I'm a tour manager for 40 people, right? It's you have your riders, you have your your little things that are in the green room and all that. So
hockey rock stars. Who's the biggest hockey rock star? I mean, Reeves has got this
on the current team, or
the person on the current team where you're like, I'd like to hear two. One is here's the rock star that has to have things a certain way, and then I'd like to know the guy that's just a hot mess. That's just at any given time you might get a phone call and you roll your eyes.
Well, I think too, like it goes with the successes, right? Like, and Karts can talk on this too, because it's weird. We show up in a city at 3 a.m. in the middle of winter, and you have 20 to 30 people waiting outside the hotel room for autographs.
Yeah, seekers.
Right? Like the seekers are real.
Yeah, that's creepy.
And you got your Kirill and Boldy now is really building a name nationally, and so there's that aspect of it. But overall, we really have a humble team, and I'm not just saying that. Like the group of guys, and we have my counterparts and I have a group chat going, right? And it's a lot of it's just letting out some aggressions, right? And some of the stuff that they deal with, I don't even ever see, just because of the culture so good in our room.
Yeah, but there are some dudes that are high
politician.
Yeah, there are some dudes that are high maintenance for sure.
That's in volume 4 of my book.
Hey, thanks. That was fun.
So who's like in terms of who you've dealt with in Minnesota, who's maybe the lowest maintenance?
Like sleep on the floor
Actually,
guy.
like Johnny Merrill seems like he's super low maintenance.
I'd have to say Aki.
Really?
Aki is one of the most low key, go with the flow guys that just
like no complaint.
No complaint.
The
but
buffet is always good.
As he's getting a little bit older, he's got a little bit of a chip to him, and he'll, I think it might be like Broads might be in his ear a little bit, or Tony DaCosta might be in his ear a little bit, just to make sure that
man.
keeping me level.
Yeah, I gotta humble. Yeah, everybody's gotta humble each other a little bit.
Like if we have a plane delay, and if we're delayed, we have a maintenance issue, and our itinerary says that we arrive at, say, 3 p.m., and we arrive at 3:30, Aki will just text me and say, time check, right? Yeah. And I'll just be like, what were you last night, -2?
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's not fun.
All right. Hey,
he probably wasn't, though.
Keep your eye on your own bobber. No, but you do keep a running count of how much time is wasted on the tarmac, don't you?
Last year we did that because everyone's like, oh, Whitey's itinerary is always off. And I said, no, it's not. Maybe there might be 1 or 2, but for overall, I think I'm pretty accurate. So we started off, and I shouldn't have started off where I did because I think we had an hour and 15-minute delay, flight number 1 out of LA. So that dug me a hole, but I dug out of it.
Yeah. So who's the highest maintenance player that you've had to deal with here?
Should I say Al Stalock?
Well, for sure. He's probably...
There's no way he's high maintenance.
He's probably the most active. So you'll get the most text messages or phone calls from him.
Or let's do a Nate Prosser.
No chance. High maintenance?
Well, when it comes to tickets.
Oh, tickets maybe. Yeah. Yeah, needing tickets or no, gosh, I don't know. High maintenance. Each guy has
their little
own thing. Like
he doesn't want to say it. I know.
Was tickets. Some guys wear a letter on their chest, right? Maybe that's the guy that's too high maintenance. I don't know.
So another thing that Andrew, when we first started on the road with, was a thing called like dumb money, where everybody would be out to dinner, the whole team would, and there'd be hey, how much would you pay to see Whitey eat this or do that, and we're in the playoffs, I think, in St. Louis.
Chicago, wasn't it? Oh, no, St. Louis first, yeah.
St. Louis. We're at a really nice steakhouse. I think it's like 801 Chop or something like that. And the money starts getting tossed in the middle of the table for Andrew to eat a cereal bowl size of real horseradish. Not the sauce, like the shaved stuff. So it was like it
was raw. It was bad.
A mountain of horseradish.
I think
so. The dollar amount gets to an adequate number where Andrew starts to think it's a good idea, and we pull the dock over so he's sitting close enough just to keep an eye on Andrew. So he starts spooning horseradish into his mouth, eating it like yogurt until he really couldn't handle any more of it.
How did you do?
You know what? Let's build it up a little bit more. I think. Yeah, it's the dumb money thing. I think Thomas Vanek and you actually started this whole bit.
Is that the name of your book, Dumb Money?
Well, that's one of them.
Okay, that's one of the volumes.
It started in St. Louis, and I'm eating this bowl of horseradish, and my head is just burning,
on fire.
And again, I'm the main contact for this dinner, right? Yeah. Like I'm the main report that's setting this up. And
they're gonna give you the bill.
Let's not forget, there's like 25 dudes at 801 Chop, the nicest steakhouse, and they're all rallied around a guy eating a bowl of horseradish.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't see the bowl empty. Yeah. So it ended up me getting sick.
Did you get paid or no?
So the bid is you have to complete it or you get nothing.
Oh, and do they put cash on the table or cards?
It's cash.
I'm surprised they even have cash.
Well, it was back in the day when per diem used to be handed out in cash. Okay. Everybody had cash.
That's awesome.
Well, and so we win that round, right?
Yeah.
And we go second round into Chicago. And of course, I walk in the locker room and it's a practice day playoffs, right? And Vanny again yells dumb money. And I'm like, guys, it's the playoffs.
And it always has to be you.
It always
Well, it's
just
just-
me.
yeah.
You're
It's
the
just me.
monkey.
Yeah,
You're the guy that has to
exactly.
perform.
Yes.
Got it.
So they all of a sudden
That's a tough gig.
They yell it, and I'm like, guys, it's playoffs, like out of sight, out of mind. And all of a sudden, our GM walks in, Chuck walks in. He goes, "No, do it. It's for the boys." And I'm like, "Oh."
You're helping culture.
So what do? They strip me down and they throw me in a cold tub for 50 seconds, fully submerged. Like,
So you know when you go into a
like-
cold tub, it takes your breath away, and you can like go up to your neck, but it's almost impossible to like not have to go like
Yeah.
and hold your breath.
I'm glad that hazing still exists somewhere in the
This isn't
hockey.
hazing. This is a proposition.
you want to know what? It pays,
Okay. It's a job. It's like TaskRabbit.
It pays
You
my
just paid
kids'
him
tuition.
to
This
go
is-
underwater.
This is what you get if you can complete the task.
Totally.
Scuba.
It's like a TV show.
Honey, I've added a scuba man for the next
You know
minute.
what? And
So-
I completed that one, and I think I got
and it was
$3,000.
It was too easy.
Were you nude or what were you wearing?
No, I was down to just my gym shorts.
How hard,
shorts or
how
something.
hard was it?
It was, you know what? I will
too
say,
easy.
Really?
I acted a little bit on this one because
I don't
I'm
even
like,
know if I could hold my breath for 50 seconds.
I know the doc was out there, and I'm like underneath it, and I'm like, if I pass out, doc will revive me. I'm okay.
Because you had the
So I
doc.
knew I was going to get this one.
There's got to be some science too, where like it's the cold water slows your heart rate down. Like it was just too easy for him.
Like a David Blaine thing maybe happened.
But I
so-
think, you know what? I think too, it might be a little bit of the guilt that lives in these guys because they're so hard on me every day that they're like, let's just throw Whitey a little bit of money.
yeah,
Right? Like
paying it forward.
It's paying it. It's
What's
paying
the
its
most you could, not on your W-2, of course, but what's the most you could pull out of a team in a great stretch run? Lots of dumb money. I mean, could you pull? Is this like the doorman in New York? You could you could get up to over 10 grand over. Yeah, you could do pretty well.
Well, 1 year I paid my kids tuition. Let's just say that.
That is awesome.
So then, of
Well,
course,
you
I
have
get
to complete them, and then if you get too good at completing them, they get harder and harder. So the following year, we were in Ottawa for rookie dinner, and we're at I don't remember the
the
name.
nicest restaurant in Ottawa.
Yeah,
like
and
the nicest.
we have the place to ourselves, and on the back wall, it's like lit up, and they have like these jars of like pickled vegetables and wine.
but for decor, like the
Decor.
pickles were
Okay.
It was
oh
decor.
no,
3 to
I know where this is going.
3 to 5 years old. They were 3 to 5
no.
years old, and they were decor.
No,
It was decor,
It was-
and it's not like a little pickle jar. It was like a gallon size one.
no.
Yeah, so we have them
You know
pulled
how
off, and we buy it off
so
the top.
gross. That's
And, hey,
so gross.
And
Because that
Ed has
water
gotta
is so
eat it.
old.
He's got to eat it.
You know who was sitting right next to me? Right here.
Ryan
I'm
Carter.
this guy.
Yeah,
He's
of
sitting
course.
right here.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his work. I think he lit my chest hair on fire one time. Yeah.
Yeah. So to that point, again, it was Vanny.
Yeah.
Thomas Vanek pulls the jar down, hands it to Carts. We unscrew it. Well, first we blow the dust off.
Yeah,
it.
it was dust.
Ugh.
We do that. We pull the first pickle spear out, and it just goes like this. Just it's fuzzy, right? So I eat all the pickle spears, and again, it might have been too easy to eat the pickles.
Yeah, so then we made you
So
drink the
then
juice.
drink
You gotta
the
drink
juice.
water.
And then I think,
And if you vomit, do you not get paid?
no, and I think from the back far corner, someone's like, "Eat the dill seed," right? So all of a sudden, I'm like hitting the dill
Yeah.
seed down, and that once that dill seed hit,
Puke
let's
It's
just
over.
say Carts held the bag.
and no money.
Yeah.
Do you get sympathy money?
Well, there's usually
Well,
some
the sympathy money is like
yeah.
the next one.
Yeah. No, there's usually under the table sympathy money.
Yeah. So it's funny. I can relate to that. When I was an assistant coach on a hockey team, I used to have one jalapeno for every goal because I was like the Hawaiian shirt assistant. Don't really do anything but fun. We won a game 14-2 or something, but the problem was same as you. I had these jalapenos rolling around in the back of my car. I hadn't been refrigerating them, and they were in the trunk. It had been maybe over Christmas breaks. We had like a 3-week stretch, and you got the cloudy water. Oh man, will that make you puke? It's like
your mouth's
it's
watering
like
right
drinking
now.
a fish tank.
Oh, totally.
I mean, it's a fish tank.
And the only thing I'd always get home and I'm like, hey, it's for the boys, I guess.
That's great.
It's for the culture.
Hey, can you, just because I'm a big fan, can you give us a little on 97? Any little Does he travel? Like a couple things, like with
Zuki wanted him to go to the Bahamas and just enjoy his time away.
Yeah, has he left
Have you had to
town?
book any flights?
Has he left town while injured?
I can't talk about that.
Okay.
No.
So when he lands and it's 3 a.m. and there's a bunch of eBay dorks sitting out there, like just give us a glimpse what it's like to be a NHL store guy traveling around the country. What's life like for Kirill from a team services standpoint?
You know what? I guess we could talk about he still doesn't know how to tie a tie.
Okay.
Like I'm his tie guy.
So you tie it and put it over his shoulder, like over his head?
What's the go-to knot?
I'll tie a double Windsor for sure.
Okay.
That passes a test.
I will. It happened in L.A. when I got his first hat trick. Right.
You tied his tie that night?
Tied his tie that night. So then I had to tie it the next day.
I don't think I know how to tie a double Windsor.
And that's kind of the joke. I can be his tie guy, but no, he is one of the most humble. And I'm not just saying this for the bit. He is one of the most humble, genuine superstars that you'll ever meet.
He just loves hockey, right?
He loves hockey. He loves his teammates. He loves just being around the game. You see it at practice. Like him and Zuki are usually the last two off the ice, right? Because they're playing a game. They're trying something new. Even that outdoor practice we had, they were just out there for an extra 45 minutes. We're all packed up. The truck's ready to go, and they're still in their gear.
People often say like he loves hockey, and to me that's just like any normal person that loves a sport or the game or something. And then you see somebody that actually loves hockey, and I think it makes sense then.
Totally.
But when people say it, I don't give it a lot of credit because it's just like,
It's
of
a
course,
cliche.
this is their
It's
favorite.
More
sport.
like rink rat.
That's their way of saying it's their favorite sport. Like this, he loves hockey. Kirill actually loves
100%. Yeah, and he doesn't. How many points did he have last year?
13, I believe.
Yeah, and if you asked him that, he wouldn't know that either. Or if you said, "Hey, what year did you win the Calder?" He'd have to look back and be like, "What was my first year?" Like he just wants to play and wants to win.
When he's been injured and he can't, is he just dark? Like you just don't hear from him for 3 weeks, or is he even more spazzy with you because he doesn't know what to do with himself? He's like, "Hey, can you help me download ESPN Plus?" Or like,
no, he's pretty self-sufficient too, and he's around the rink, right? Like he's doing his rehab, he's doing what he needs to do, and
whatever that is, and whatever part of the body that is.
Absolutely. And no, he's around the guys. The guys love him. He loves the guys, and he's a good team guy. Like I'm not just saying this for the bit.
So when he was signing his new deal, did you have your phone on ring, like full volume? Because
in Istanbul, trying
to chase him down.
You know what? In those type of situations, I sit in the shadows and wait for Billy G or Chris to call me, Chris O'Hearn. And I'm just ready to go whenever. There's the stories are out there about the struggles we've had. This past off season, getting him back, and the long conversations, phone call conversations we had, and I was a part of it. But credit to our management team and legal team because we did a lot to get that done.
But before we get into the crazy game of hockey, what's the craziest person that you've like had to call and ask for a favor to get something done for hockey?
Gosh. Well, how about this? Yesterday, last week we were in St. Louis and
I love that it's last week. You have a good job.
That's the first one. Oh, but we'll see where it ranks, right? Yeah. So last week we're in St. Louis and Ric Flair walks through the hallway, and Revo, dabs him and talks a little bit, and I say, "Hey, Revo, you want to pass along Ric Flair's phone number to me? I think we could do some cool stuff with him." And yesterday morning at 7:25, I get a text message that pops up that says, "Rick Nature Boy Flair." And I'm like, huh? 7:25?
Did it say woo?
And I open up my phone and all it says is call me now. And I'm like, whoa, hey, hi, Rick. It's just like, so it's just.
What time was this?
7:25 a.m.
In the morning.
In the morning.
So you had to act like you were awake for the last 2 hours?
I have two boys under 2. I've been up for 3 hours.
I've done that bit before. You get a call and you're laying down. Hello? Yeah, no, I've been up for 2 hours, man. What's up?
Drop the voice 2 octaves and pretend like you're at the office.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm thinking there's been some unique opportunities just to collaborate with interesting people. If so-and-so wants to go to a concert and you connect the dots on who they know. And that's kind of where this whole event that we're going to talk about kind of stemmed to.
Yeah. Fire it up.
Yeah. So, we just announced the Wild Alumni Association, which, we're 23 years into our existence, and we have a huge alumni base or quality alumni base, Carts being one of them. We have over 300 guys and over 40 local. And it's just, we felt it was time leading into the 25th anniversary to really get this thing off the ground. And credit to Craig Leopold and Matt Maka and Billy G for recognizing it and giving, the trust in myself and other people involved to really launch this thing. And it's going to be a collaboration of community events, marketing ideas, corporate ideas, and really just getting the alumni back together. Because I think, Carts, you can probably say like the biggest thing you miss about on ice hockey is the locker room and like the guys and the camaraderie and stuff like that. So we're going to have events, just, pickleball tournaments for just the guys, or a dinner once a month, and getting the guys out into the arena again and building their images back up. And
will you perform dumb money at these events?
We'll see what the alumni.
You got Vanek there, Stilly.
The pot might be a little smaller. A little smaller. People would be throwing in.
Hey, Whitey.
Yeah.
Hey, Whitey. Like there's some eggnog from last
preloaded
Christmas.
gift cards instead of cash or something like that. But
Exactly.
So yeah, we launched that yesterday, and we're excited about that. And then in turn, we're going to do our first big alumni event this July 7th and 8th, and it's called the Crazy Game of Hockey. And it's we partnered with the band OAR, and Minnesota owns Grammy-nominated guitarist Corey Wong. And it's going to be a 2-day bash, 40-plus celebrities there, athletes, musicians, comedians, and it's going to start Friday night the 7th is going to be a VIP red carpet event. Yam House from Minneapolis is going to perform.
They're great.
I booked them, and the more I listen to their music, I'm in love. Yeah.
They're talk about boy bands. That's like 5 Matt Boldys in a band.
Yes.
So if you want to go feel bad about yourself, go watch.
they're actually good at hockey too.
Yeah. Like,
Are Yam House good at hockey?
after we announced this
I think
event,
they're like super. They're like going straight to heaven too. Last I checked.
after we announced this event yesterday, the lead singer's agent texted me and said, "Hey, Lars wants in. He's in the game." So we just got another hockey player for the game. So yeah, that Friday night event, it's a live and silent auction, all for charity. Yam House is performing, Tiger Lily Gold, a country duo out of North Dakota. Natalie Friedman's doing a stand-up act.
Where is it?
And that's at the Pantages Theater in downtown Minneapolis.
Okay. Does Carter get to
And
go?
he's one of the captains.
Does he count as one of the celebrities?
He
I
is
get a plus
celebrity.
one.
So there's 39 celebrities.
I get a plus one.
Or there's
I'd love to go with you,
yeah.
man.
Well,
You've seen how I
see.
perform it when I get excited, though. I could buy something at the silent auction and get poured into an Uber.
yeah. So then the next day, the 8th, we have the celebrity hockey game at Tria Rink.
Okay.
There's over 40 celebrities are going to play. Some can skate, some can't. So it's going to be really fun. We have, the tagline of the event is Crazy Game of Hockey. So we're going to get some really interesting rules involved. We actually have Dan Finnerty from the Dan Band, who was in Hangover and Old School.
Yep.
He's actually going to be mic'd up, emceeing the event and chirping the guys as it's going to be a fun, interactive game. And then that night, Corey Wong and OAR are going to play a full concert set at the Armory in downtown Minneapolis.
And does it raise money for something, or is it helping the players post retirement? How does an event like this work?
Yeah, so we're doing 3 or 4 events like this put on by the Alumni Association a year, and all of the money will be that's raised will be towards the Wild Foundation. So
Okay.
we're raising money. Proceeds go to the Wild Foundation, building the greater state of hockey, grassroots hockey, all the above. And it's really to celebrate, hockey in Minnesota in July, but also, give back to a good cause.
Yeah.
Will Ryan O'Reilly be at the alumni event?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
There's only room for a couple active players, and I don't know who'll make the short list. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great kicking off an alumni association. It's amazing. There's 40 local, and I think everybody can probably relate that it's hard to keep in touch at times with with people on a regular basis that even though you both have the desire to, or people have the desire to stay in touch, it's hard to do. So I think the Alumni Association is going to be great for that with the players that stick around. Minnesota's a hockey hotbed, and players that play here stay here. So it'd be good to have the Alumni Association, and it's obviously getting kicked off with a great event. OAR, Corey Wong, their involvement, celebrities. I mean, I'm going to show up to the game just to see some of these, because there's going to be basketball players.
Yeah, actually, we
7-footers.
We confirmed last week. Greg Ostertag.
Remember that name?
Yeah.
The center,
7-footer on skates.
the center for the Utah Jazz texted me and said, "Hey, it's Greg Ostertag. Call me." So I looked at my phone. I called him.
And he can skate?
And he's been in a men's league for 5 years now. After
God,
post
he's probably
retirement,
better than me.
he's 7'2". He's
horrible.
7'2". So
He's
what
a Monday player.
would that be, a 7'8" on skates?
I don't think you get 8 inches. But yeah.
The answer is
six,
just
it's-
yes. Let's just see
By
this.
the helmet.
I know,
and
that's worth
skates?
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
please.
worth it.
That's
He's gonna
your
stand-
ticket right there.
And we
He's
have
gonna be
guys.
able to play like a 1-4. He's going to be the only D. He's going to go from board to board with just a stick.
We have guys like Mike
You can use
Modano,
Zuki's stick. Madano's playing.
Mike
nice.
Modano, Joe Mauer,
Yep.
Andrew Zimmern.
Yep.
Guys are flying back for it too. So these type of events are going to allow alumni to fly back.
Luke
So,
Goldbranson, bringing him in.
We've talked about him.
He's a good player,
friend,
actually.
Good friend of
He
Darby's.
is good.
Yeah, he coaches, I believe, too, right?
Yeah, he does.
So, guys flying back like Pierre-Marc Bouchard, Nicholas Backstrom, Clayton Stoner. So we got some guys. I talked with Jason Pominville last week. So we have some really cool names that would fly back that are flying back.
July 7 and 8. So it's awesome. Couple concerts, big event. One ticket gets you into
Yes.
everything.
Yes, it's a 1-ticket event, 3 tickets on the strip.
How much is it?
It's $300,
Okay.
and all
But
proceeds go
that money's
towards the Wild
going to
Foundation.
basically helping kids play hockey in
Yeah.
the state of Minnesota.
And where do you find the tickets?
Wild.com-crazy game.
I like
So-
the name, playing off crazy game of poker. That's fun with the OAR.
Yeah, and they're going to play too. They're and that's how it all started. Mark, I'm good friends with Mark, their lead singer, and he was in the studio with Corey Wong. They're doing a new album together. And about 8 weeks ago, they were in the studio and they're like, let's do a hockey game together. Let's do Team OAR versus Team Corey Wong and just play hockey and get our buddies to play. And Mark's like, yeah, that sounds great. So then he's leaving the studio and he texts me. He goes, "Hey, I have an idea. Call me." So I call him and I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "We want to do a hockey game." I said, "Perfect. I'm about ready to launch the Wild Alumni. Why don't we do it together?" And 8 weeks later, with the help of our front office and their management teams, we were able to pull this thing off. So huge event, all for charity.
Great stuff. 23 years in, it's great you guys are doing that for the people who have been there for us, and now you're doing some good in the state of hockey too.
In your honor, Andrew, I'm thinking about my +1 with the full VIP suite that will likely accompany that.
Yes.
Having some type of stupid money event for the fans of the podcast. Whoever's willing to do whatever we come up with will be the +1. So, John, we might have to burn
Ooh.
your chest hair again or something.
I like
but,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like they gave me the +1 earlier in the
I just took it
podcast.
back.
Oh, you
And
took
then
it back.
I
it's like,
actually
no.
just let you aware that there is a +1. And that
But it seemed like, didn't it seem like when he did it
You're in
before
the
he gave
running.
it to me?
Well, I think
didn't
if it's
seem
going to
that
raise
way.
more money for the kids, I
Yeah.
think we need to
So
pull
that's
it.
actually what I do to John, which he hates, is you throw it back on him like that. Like
it's
a
for the kids.
tug on the heartstrings, then
All
he
for the
feels
kids.
all
It's
bad.
for the kids. Okay.
Before we let you go,
You got to
you're
come back, by the way.
you're
'cause you're a beauty, man.
with card collecting. He's a big card collector.
Oh, me too.
So he makes stupid money and real money, and then he collects cards and makes money on top of it. Give us your best card. What's the number one
Ooh.
card in your collection?
Probably that 2000 Tom Brady Ballman.
Do you get them graded? PSA and all that?
I'm not that big of a nerd.
Yeah, me either.
No, he just has a whole room in his house full of cards.
What do you do? Are you mostly football or are you hockey?
Football and baseball.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where do you keep your Ryan Carter cards?
In my
Dumpster?
bike spokes.
Yeah, makes it loud. You have
The big nose keeps it rigid.
Ooh.
You know, a lot of ink there.
It's actually
rigid.
like it's a brake. It won't even
good.
push through it.
No.
No.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
yeah, write that book too, man. I'll buy that.
Yeah, we'll put that on the coffee table.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Peace,
man.
Thanks, guys.
Man, I never thought about dumb money. That is, Whitey, what a great guess. He'd have to come back often. What do you think he washed all that horseradish down with?
Well, he washed it down with a magnum of wine, but if I was him, what I would have liked to wash it down with
Just slide that in
is
there.
some good quality drinking water. And if you're at home and your water isn't up to snuff, you can get a free water test from Aquarius Home Services. So, and if it comes to a point where you don't have good water, it's hard water, you get stains on your dishes, throughout your bathrooms. If it just doesn't taste right, you can get reverse osmosis. But Aquarius Home Services, they've got the Connecticut drinking water system. You can check these guys out, aquariushomeservices.com. They're earning the right to be recommended, and they solve problem water.
Do you know, Carts, what season it is right now?
I don't know.
It is slaw season.
Slaw season.
Slaw season. So a lot of people sleep on the slaw. A lot of people don't give slaw a place at the table. It's an afterthought, but not Jimmy's salad dressings and dips. They got 3 different types of coleslaw. They got the original. They got the pineapple, which is my favorite. They got a fat-free one. So let's not sleep on the slaw, folks. It is slaw season. Burgers, whatever you're doing, get that on the side of the plate. Jimmy's salad dressings and dips. Don't you be messing with my dresser. Let's party. So good show so far, huh?
Yeah, it's been an
No
interesting,
complaints.
Yeah.
Whitey's something.
But if you do have a complaint, file it with Whitey. Sounds like he gets a lot of them.
Yeah, he put himself out there. He might get his ass kicked by Reeves in the next week or so he might have some of those smelling salts under his nose himself.
Just pin down one of those right in his face. Let's get to that for a second because that one went viral in a hurry. Ryan
Did he
Reeves,
throw up or not throw
he
up?
gagged twice. So if you watch it close again, he took a couple, and maybe it was an older one.
This is this mint thing? Is this his own
not mint,
private
it's like-
concoction,
no,
or is this
no.
this is just a new smelling salt?
Yeah, those little white things that you used to break in half and wave in your
But
front.
now it's in a
It's like a jar. I twisted top off. So I don't know if there's like a shelf life or half life or like where it goes.
yeah. I've had the little ones you break, but I've never seen the jar.
So he says no thanks to one of the jars. It wasn't getting the job done. Give me the good stuff.
Give me a fresh one.
Yeah.
I want to hear the seal be broken.
off the top shelf. And then he takes a whiff of it.
Man down.
It's like somebody.
He's a big boy to take down.
Yeah. I mean, the way it looked to me is like somebody threw knives up his nose and was just tickling his brain with them because he went down 2 gags, and then he said he couldn't recover after that. It took him
Is that why?
the day to
Then he did get hurt after that, or is he still struggling? Because I couldn't.
Well,
it
half his
wasn't
brain is
clear to
dead
me.
right now.
It wasn't clear to me if he was still injured from the smelling salts.
Yeah.
Half his brain is dead. That's a great. Is that an upper body injury? Hey, I got 2 butter knives stuck up my nostrils into my
Thanks to smelling salts.
into my cortex. Can you help me with that? Hey, did you have any? It looks like we got the Avs tomorrow. We got to go to Vegas. The boys are going to get. Whitey told us when you stepped out, I think they got 3 or 4 nights in Vegas. That should be great to get us warmed up for the playoffs. But we got just Vegas and the Avs here this week before they'll hear from us again. Any thoughts on those?
Well, Chicago used to do that before they went on their cup runs, and now this one isn't like hey, let's turn this into a party. They're going there because that's the trip, and they want to win some hockey games. And but Chicago used to, I think, have a post-deadline team bonding, go to Vegas, and it resulted in a couple of cups. So who knows? Maybe that this is like an unintended benefit here of a nice trip in Vegas. But I think that it's going to be a real test for the Wild, where I don't think that they've been tested a lot lately. And the tests that have come have all been within their own room. Like, let's win this game. Let's find a way to beat Chicago. You've got Seattle coming to town. Let's nothing has been too scary, and they've been able to get through it. Now all of a sudden you've got Colorado and Vegas, which two teams that seem like they might be two of the best in the West for sure.
Vegas terrifies me.
Teams that you don't want to play against, yeah. And so it'll be a good measuring stick for them right now, and where their game is at.
That's great. I look forward to kind of seeing how we wrap up here. I told you I got the hockey news delivered yesterday, and it was it's the playoff issue, right? And for each team, they had a thing which was first cup pass. So who's the person the captain hands the cup to, right? And this is exactly why we did this podcast, is that we want Wild fans to be able to like think about that. Like imagine the Wild winning the cup. Like imagine people going crazy on West 7th. Imagine the state of hockey finally having a cherry on top, which it should have for some time. Do you know who the first cup pass is on the Wild according to the hockey news?
No, did the hockey news they
tell you? Yeah, they tell you who they believe it should be, because Spurgeon would get the cup. Now picture this with me, everyone. If you're listening, close your eyes unless you're driving. Little Jared Spurgeon with his perfectly soft skin and his wife. I don't think his wife's on the ice, but he gets the cup. Who does he turn and hand it to? His wife's not on the ice. She's in my head for some reason. But
I'm just gonna let you hang out there,
right.
feeling lonely.
Sorry, Jared. So who does he hand it to?
I think that there's an argument for a few people. Marcus Foligno, I think, would be one. Matt Dumba would be another. Kirill Kaprizov, your star, the guy that's likely going to bring you to the promised land, would be another. But I think it's going to be Matt Zuccarello is who I believe would be the guy that Jared Spurgeon passes it to, or Marc-Andre Fleury. But I think Marc-Andre Fleury would defer.
Interesting. God, man, I think this just shows that it's a national outlet probably not thinking through this all the way. The person they said would get it first was Jonas Brodin. They said, I think it was because he's been on the Wild the longest tenure on the Wild besides like Mikko Koivu or something, and Spurgeon himself maybe, or I don't know. It was but I guess when you think about it, more nationally, absolutely. Someone like Zuki, it would seem, would have more. Although, is Brodin, how old is Brodin compared to Zuki?
Well,
he's younger, right?
Brodin's a little bit younger,
but not much,
right?
But yeah, there's this magazine. Of course, they don't have any idea what's going on in the room with the Wild, but they had Brodin getting it.
Did they have like a honorable mentions?
No, just Brodin. One player each team. It was like a little rectangle. First cup pass, and it said Jonas Brodin. It said longest tenure on the Wild, besides the guys hanging from the rafters, essentially, or the guy hanging from the rafter, and they had him getting it first.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, I don't know that I can rule it out,
but I don't think teams, because Zuki's never won the cup, right? And he's older, so of course he's getting it before Brodin. They don't care that he only played on the Wild,
right? So then you could look around the league, like when did Ray Bourque get it? Then when he got it first. Yeah, that's what I mean. But he wasn't the longest tenured.
He'd been on the Avs for 6 months.
Yeah,
hockey news are idiots.
I don't know about that, but if I had to make a bet, that'd be a cool prop bet.
It goes to Zuki first for sure. I think you're right.
I think it goes.
He's
Zuki.
The oldest guy. Oh, Flower too, but Flower's won so many.
That's what I mean.
It's got to be Zuki because he hasn't had it.
And I actually think.
I love thinking about this.
I think playoff performance matters.
Yeah, if you're like
if you're the shoe-in for the Conn Smythe,
then it maybe the baby Russian.
And there are guys that are right there. So if it was Foligno, Zuccarello, even Brodin, Dumba, it might be Dumba, knowing that would be his swan song kind of. And if he got to a spot
Moose
where he's up there in the Conn Smythe conversation, that gets you up that list quite a bit faster too. So a playoff performance matters, no question about it.
These are the things I want to be thinking about. I also want to play Seattle in the first round. I think it would just be great. Just kill Seattle. I don't think that's going to happen though, right? You have to win first.
Well, yeah. I mean, they could end up playing Seattle.
That would be the best.
Yeah, just the wild card in general would be the best. Right now, Dallas and Colorado are two teams that I don't want to face Dallas because they seem to have the Wild's number.
Ottinger, yuck.
Yeah, the goaltender's good. I think that they're probably going to, the last 10 games, worry less about home ice, more about getting Ottinger down to where he was playing really good hockey. They know that they need him to be good, so they're going to manage him to be the best that he can be. Colorado all of a sudden can fill the back of the net again like no other team can.
Landeskog will mysteriously be healthy. Terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe a bad goalie.
Well, we don't know about the goalie. And
That could be
Colorado was able to run
that
through
could be a
everybody
big
last year
thing.
because they played with the puck all along. Like nobody could even get shots against because there was a mobile D. They could play with the puck. And Bowen Byram was great in the playoffs. And he's getting healthy. Makar has been injured throughout the year. So I think you don't fully know what you're getting with Colorado. But what you do know is that they were able to do it last year. And
With, what's his face, Kemper. So
yeah. And you
anything's
just-
possible
You look
for
at the
Colorado.
team that Colorado was somewhat of a carbon copy of, and that's Tampa. And Tampa was able to win back-to-back cups. And
With an amazing goalie.
yeah, with goaltenders and stuff. So you don't want to have to face those guys first round.
They're going to smoke Toronto first round. It's going to be the greatest. We'll get into the NHL playoffs overall when we get there, but great show. Love Whitey. Love Dumb Money, man. I'm hoping to be your +1. I'm open to eating and drinking things. I'm open to temperature. You can let my chest hair on fire, whatever we need to do.
Well, consider yourself a fourth liner with 2 replacements getting healthy, 2 more bodies getting healthy. So
I'm
possible
in the
that
mix.
it's possible. Yeah, you can slide up and down based on performance, but it is not your spot.
I'm Mason Shaw just fighting someone in the tunnel
You might
on
have
the way
to.
off the. Okay. Well, he has a guitar. I'll learn to play guitar. Give me a shot
All right, we're here.
till it's here.